Have you ever wondered why, amidst the noisy flow of life, we still feel lonely and insecure? Sometimes we've tried so hard, worked diligently, treated others kindly, yet still feel empty inside, still feel tired because others don't understand us, because of thoughtless words that hurt our hearts, because of comparisons and jealousy that make us feel small. Sometimes we just want to let go of everything, but don't know where to start to find peace again. This life is like a river, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent. Everyone within it longs for peace and happiness. But how many truly achieve peace and happiness in this life? I understand there are days you wake up and feel your heart constricted, not wanting to meet anyone, not wanting to say anything. There are times you wonder why people hurt each other so easily. You remain silent, but silence can lead to misunderstandings. You are kind, but sometimes kindness leads to exploitation. Then you gradually close yourself off, becoming tougher, and slowly drift away from the gentleness within your own heart. But did you know? The Buddha once taught, "Do no evil, cultivate good, purify one's mind." This is the teaching of the Buddhas. This means do not commit any evil deeds, perform all good deeds, keep your mind pure. That is the teaching of the Buddhas. If we deeply understand this sentence, it turns out that the path to peace and happiness doesn't lie in how others treat us, but in how we nurture our own minds. The Buddha's teaching to abandon evil and do good is not only about refraining from bad actions, but also about learning to see life with a compassionate heart, knowing how to forgive the mistakes of others, knowing how to turn inward and enlighten oneself. Someone once asked me, if people do evil to me, should I just remain silent and forever be gentle? I just smiled and said, no, being gentle is not weakness. Being gentle is when you are strong enough not to be dragged into the anger of others. Being gentle is when you know how to feel compassion, even for those who are in error. In this competitive life, you don't need to chase after anyone, nor do you need to prove anything. Just keep your mind pure, your heart bright, and life will naturally be peaceful. Like a still lake, no matter the rain or wind, when the wind stops, the water becomes clear again. If you can maintain clarity in your heart, then no matter what others say or do, your heart will remain firm like a mountain. Once, I heard a story about a Zen master who was falsely accused by people, but he only smiled and did not defend himself. When people realized their mistake and came to apologize, he gently said, "I forgave you long ago, because my heart has never held anything to let go of." When I heard that, I felt as if my heart had been cleansed. It turns out that serenity is not about escaping life, but about living amidst life without letting your mind be swept away. If you are now feeling restless, I want to invite you to close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale slowly. Feel your breath passing through you like cool water, washing away worries. Let your mind rest for a bit. Each time you breathe mindfully is a time you are returning to yourself. You see, peace and happiness are not far away. They lie in every breath, in every wholesome thought, in every time you choose not to do evil, even though it's very easy to do. Others may be noisy, may be competitive, but if you maintain inner peace, you have conquered yourself. And when you conquer yourself, you no longer need to conquer anyone else. Life, after all, is not about superiority or contention, but about learning how to live kindly, virtuously, and peacefully. Abandoning evil and doing good not only helps us purify old karma, but also opens a bright path where the heart is light as a cloud and the mind is clear as water. That is the art of living serenely in the human world that the Buddha taught. Remember, no matter what others do, if your mind is virtuous and bright, then even if the world changes, your heart will remain the most stable refuge. My dear friend, in this life, perhaps everyone has experienced moments when their heart is torn between good and evil, between love and resentment, between wanting to let go and being unable to. There are times you just want to live kindly, harming no one. But then just one thoughtless word from another person makes you feel pain. Anger arises. You know you shouldn't, but you can't control it. Then, when the anger passes, sadness and regret well up in your heart. Isn't it true that sometimes we are the ones who make ourselves suffer the most? The Buddha once taught, "Do no evil, cultivate good, purify one's mind." This is the teaching of the Buddhas. This means, do not commit any evil deeds, perform all good deeds, keep your mind pure. That is the Buddha's teaching. It sounds simple, but to truly live according to that teaching, we must learn our whole lives. Because evil is not just big actions like killing, stealing, or deceiving. Evil also arises from very small things in the mind, from a contemptuous look, a hurtful word, or even an envious thought. And goodness is not just saving people and helping the world. It is also knowing when to stop, knowing when to let go of what is wrong, knowing how to keep one's mind pure in the face of disagreeable things. Many people say that it's hard to live virtuously nowadays because if you're too kind, people easily bully you. If you're too patient, people think you're scared. But dear friend, doing good is not weakness. It is the courage of someone who understands the Dharma. Abandoning evil is not avoidance. It is daring to face the anger within oneself. Only a person with inner strength can stop amidst a fit of anger, while a weak person is carried away by emotions. There's a small story I'll always remember. In a small village by the market, there was an elderly woman named Mrs. Tu, over 50 years old, who sold vegetables at a corner of the market. She was hot-tempered, straightforward, and often spoke harsh words. Those who knew her understood she didn't mean harm. She was just naturally grumpy. But those who didn't know her easily got angry and hurt. One morning, while setting up her stall, she saw Ms. Han, a neighbor, selling the same type of vegetables. Simply because customers chose Ms. Han's goods more often, Mrs. Tu lost her temper and said unpleasant things. "What kind of ugly vegetables are those that people buy? She must be very good at flattering." Ms. Han heard this and was very sad. She said nothing, just quietly packed her goods. That afternoon, when she got home, Mrs. Tu felt a heavy burden in her heart. The image of Ms. Han's sad face kept appearing in her mind. She remembered what her daughter once said, "Mom, words are like knives. If you love someone but accidentally hurt them, that love is meaningless." Mrs. Tu felt her heart tighten. That evening, she went to Ms. Han's house, bringing some vegetables and fruit, knocked on the door, and apologized. She said, "I was short-tempered this morning and said some bad things. Please forgive me. I know words can make people sad, so from now on, I will practice speaking more kindly." Ms. Han smiled and said, "I'm not angry. Everyone has moments of frustration. The important thing is to realize it and correct it." From that day on, people noticed Mrs. Tu seemed gentler. She no longer raised her voice at the market. Whenever someone upset her, she would just smile and remain silent. Someone asked her why she changed. She simply said, "I understand now. Speaking an unkind word is like throwing a stone into water. The splash is small, but the ripples spread far. Speaking a kind word is like dropping a flower into a stream. The fragrance is gentle, but the heart is at peace." Mrs. Tu's story may be simple, but it is proof of the Buddha's teaching. Evil does not lie in external actions, but arises from the mind. When an evil thought arises in the mind, even if nothing has been done, karma has already been sown. Conversely, when a wholesome thought arises in the mind, even if nothing has been done, merit has already been created. Every thought, word, and action is a seed sown into the soil of life. Sow wholesome seeds, and you reap sweet fruits. Sow evil seeds, and you reap suffering. That is the law of karma that no one can escape. The Buddha once taught that mind is the foremost of all phenomena. Mind is their master. Mind is their maker. This means everything in life begins from our mind. If our mind is wholesome, the world around us will be wholesome. If our mind is unwholesome, the world around us also becomes dark. Have you noticed? When you are angry with someone, the sky that day seems to turn gray. Everything becomes heavy. But when you know how to love and forgive, even the wind becomes gentle. That's not because the world changes, but because your mind has changed. Abandoning evil and doing good is not a one-day task, but a process of cultivation with every breath, every word, every thought. Whenever anger arises in your mind, stop, take a deep breath, feel the air entering, then exhale slowly. At that moment, you are practicing. At that moment, you are sowing a wholesome seed. Remember, in a moment when you choose silence instead of hurtful words, you have conquered yourself. And conquering yourself, as the Buddha taught, is the greatest victory. Sometimes, abandoning evil is not only about refraining from bad actions, but also about stopping things that cause us to lose peace. Sometimes we don't harm anyone, but we harbor dark thoughts, envy, resentment, and blame in our hearts. These are tersoyus in the mind, like a glass of clear water. Just one drop of ink, and the water becomes murky. If we want to keep the water clear, we must keep our mind bright. Each time you forgive someone, you are wiping away a stain of ink from your mind. I know it's not easy to be gentle in life, but try to start with the smallest things. A kind word to a loved one, a smile to a stranger, an act of yielding during a conflict. Each small act is a step on the path of abandoning evil and doing good. When you live kindly, blessings naturally come because a wholesome mind is the root of all blessings. Try to sit still. Take a deep breath. Feel your body. Feel your breath gently moving in and out. Let your mind settle to clearly hear your heart's voice. Then ask yourself, Have I spoken a kind word today? Have I done a good deed today? Have I let go of anything that weighs me down? If the answer is no, don't be sad, because just realizing it means you have begun to practice. Practice is not only in the temple, but in every moment you live mindfully in life. A person who knows how to abandon evil and do good is a person who knows how to live with mindfulness. They don't chase after others. Don't try to prove anything. Don't rush to judge anyone. They just keep their mind bright, their heart good, and live serenely. When they meet disagreeable people, they smile. When they hear bitter words, they remain silent. When they encounter suffering, they look within their mind and learn something. That is how the wise live. You can start practicing today. Each morning when you wake up, place your hand on your chest, take a deep breath, and quietly say, "Today I choose to speak kind words, think good thoughts, and do what is right." When you go to sleep, breathe gently and silently. Give thanks. Today I have lived virtuously. A little each day, you will see yourself change. Your mind will be less agitated, your words will be less sharp, and the world around you will also become gentler. Abandoning evil and doing good is not for praise, nor for accumulating merit to seek blessings, but for your mind to be at peace. When your mind is at peace, you see flowers blooming everywhere. When your mind is chaotic, a clear sky turns into a storm. The mind is the root of blessings, the seed of happiness. A person who knows how to cultivate their mind is sowing blessings for themselves and for those around them. I want you to remember one thing. None of us are perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. The important thing is not how many times we have erred, but whether we have the courage to reflect and correct our mistakes. Just like Mrs. Tu that year, one sincere apology was enough to open a new path, where kindness is the guiding light, illuminating one's entire life. If today you are suffering because of something, because someone has said or done something to hurt you, then take a deep breath in and out gently. Choose to let go so your heart can lighten. And if you have ever hurt someone, learn from Mrs. Tu. Approach them with a sincere heart. Say an apology, a kind word. Because when you do good, you are saving yourself from suffering. My dear friend, blessings are not far away. They are right within your every wholesome thought. In every time you stop before doing something wrong. In every moment you choose love instead of resentment. Remember the Buddha's teaching. Do no evil, cultivate good. That is not just a moral teaching, but a key that opens the door to peace, helping us live joyfully and in liberation amidst life. Perhaps each of us has had dreams of a more abundant, happier life, a nicer house, more money, more people who love us. And then we throw ourselves into life, striving, struggling. But the harder we try, the more tired we feel. The more we have, the more we feel we lack. Our hearts always seem to have an unfillable void. Have you ever felt that way? Felt that no matter how many external things you gain, it's still not enough, still restless. Then you ask yourself, how much do I need to feel enough? The Buddha once taught, knowing contentment is wealth. Knowing when to stop is peace. that teaching seems simple, yet it is the key to unlocking serenity in life. Living without greed, without attachment, knowing contentment is the greatest blessing in life, because greed is the root of suffering. Greed is not just wanting more possessions, but also wanting more attention, recognition, power, love, fame. When the mind is still greedy, we will never find peace, because we are always looking outward, always chasing what we don't yet have. Try to look back. From the time you were born until now, is there anything you truly held on to forever? Money can be lost, fame can fade, this body will grow old. But greed seems to know no age. Some people spend their whole lives tirelessly accumulating, only to find they don't have a single day of peace. Because the more they have, the more they fear losing. The tighter they hold, the more they fear it slipping from their grasp. And so, the mind remains restless. I remember once hearing a Zen master tell a story about a very wealthy man named Mr. Lum. He owned the largest gold shop in Zende region. When he was young, he came from poverty. So he secretly vowed that he would strive to get rich so he would no longer be looked down upon by others. He worked diligently, stayed up late, and woke up early. Every penny saved went into his business. By the age of 40, he had 2 large houses, a gold shop, and several plots of land. But his heart was still not at peace. He told his wife, "I'll feel at ease when I have a 3rd house on the main street, so our children have a long-term place to settle." His wife just smiled. She understood he was ambitious and a perfectionist, but she also worried about him as his health seemed to weaken. Every day he was stressed, afraid of losing connections, afraid of others surpassing him, afraid of market fluctuations. Despite living in wealth, his sleep was restless. Night after night, he stayed awake calculating, to the point that his family members felt neglected because they no longer saw peace in him. His son rarely chatted with him, quietly avoiding him when he was irritable. One day, while driving, Mr. Lum heard the voice of a monk giving a Dharma talk on the radio. The monk recounted that someone asked the Buddha, "Who is the wealthiest person in the world?" The Buddha replied, "The one who knows contentment is the wealthiest person, because even with little, if one knows contentment, the mind is not poor." At that moment, Mr. Lum chuckled softly in the car. If one can live contentedly, everyone would get rich easily. But then that sentence kept echoing in his head. When he got home, he saw his wife sitting by the window, quietly chanting sutras, her face serene. He suddenly felt a strange calm. That night, Mr. Lum dreamt he was walking in a large house, but the further he went, the emptier it felt. Beautiful rooms, precious objects, but his heart felt cold. He looked around and saw no one beside him. When he woke up, drenched in sweat, he suddenly realized that for so many years he had only lived to satisfy his greed, not to be happy. He plunged into accumulation, forgetting those who were waiting for him at the dinner table every evening. The next morning, he called his wife and said, "I'm tired now. I don't want to buy the 3rd house anymore. I want to live slower." His wife just looked at him, her eyes brimming with tears. After that, he sold a portion of his assets, distributed them to the poor, donated to the temple, and then moved to a small house in the outskirts. On the first day living in that house, he woke up while it was still misty. Birds chirped. Leaves rustled. A gentle breeze blew through. He brewed a cup of tea, sat, and watched the morning light filter through the tall trees. For the first time in many years, he felt true peace. He smiled, not because he had something, but because he didn't need anything more. That story made me think a lot. Perhaps each of us has a third house in our hearts. It's not necessarily a real house, but a symbol of unfulfilled desires. The things we keep thinking will make us happier if we acquire them. Some people chase fame. Some chase money. Some chase love. But in the end, the more we run, the further we get from ourselves. The Buddha once said, "One who knows contentment is at peace, even lying on the ground. One who does not know contentment is restless, even in the heavens." This sounds light, but if you contemplate it deeply, you will see it is a clear truth in life. Knowing contentment does not mean not striving, but knowing when to stop when the heart is weary. Knowing contentment is being grateful for what you have, not chasing after what you don't. When we know contentment, we don't need to compare, compete, or envy. Someone asked me, if there are no dreams, no desires, what meaning does life have? I smiled and said, it's not about abandoning all desires, but about transforming them. Instead of wanting much to satisfy the ego, desire to live virtuously, to nourish the mind. Instead of wanting to possess, desire to share. Instead of wanting to be loved, desire to love. When greed transforms into goodness, we no longer suffer. When we know when to stop, serenity naturally appears. If you are now feeling agitated, wanting many things that you haven't yet achieved, try to sit still. Take a deep breath. Feel your breath moving in and out like cool water. Then quietly say, I am grateful that today I am still breathing, still alive. Sometimes, just realizing that this breath is precious will make the things you long for suddenly seem small. Try a small exercise with me. For the next 7 days, each morning when you wake up, write down 3 things you're grateful for. It could be a hot cup of coffee, a greeting from someone, or just the fact that you still have legs to walk. When you are grateful, your mind will naturally feel content. And when you feel content, greed stops. At that very moment, serenity begins to arise. Did you know? In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught that there is no fire as fierce as greed, and no river can be filled when the human heart has not known contentment. Greed is the fire that burns happiness, a bottomless pit. No matter how much you pour into it, it remains empty. Contentment, however, is a cool, never-drying spring, because it comes from mindfulness and gratitude. Today, many people come to temples hoping for peace, but they bring with them unfulfilled desires. They pray for money, fame, relationships, children, blessings. The Buddha does not refuse them, but he taught that if you want peace, first you must stop greed, because there is no mantra stronger than a contented mind, no magic greater than a heart that lets go. I once met an old woman, over 70, at a temple. She had only a small house, lived on a meager pension, but always smiled kindly. I asked her if she ever felt a lack. She said, "Lack is also joyful. Enough is also smiling. I am grateful that I can still eat, sleep, and chant the Buddha's name every day. At that moment, I understood that the wealthiest person is not the one with much wealth, but the one with a peaceful mind. My dear friend, human life is impermanent. What is here today may be gone tomorrow. If we keep chasing desires, we will never stop. Happiness, in fact, does not lie in how much we have, but in how much we appreciate what we have. When you stop searching externally, you will find that you already have everything within yourself. Try letting go of one thing you are trying to hold on to. It could be a relationship, a competition, or an unfulfilled dream. Just stop, and you will hear the voice of your heart. And in that silence, you will find a very deep, very true sense of peace. I want to send you a small wish. May you know contentment, so you no longer have to contend. May you live simply, so your mind can be light. May you know love, so your heart is not empty. And may you always remember, when we yield to the mind of desire, happiness immediately appears in every breath. My dear friend, have you ever felt that you were too kind and suffered for it? Sometimes you help people, and they forget your kindness. You live sincerely, and they look down on you. Many people have sighed and told me, I'm a good person, but I still suffer. Bad people are still rich and prosperous, while I'm always struggling. I understand that feeling deeply, because in this life, when we try to keep our hearts pure, sometimes our very kindness causes us pain. But dear friend, there is one thing I want to say very slowly, very gently, so you can hear it deep within your heart. Living virtuously is never in vain. Every good deed, no matter how small, is a wholesome seed quietly germinating in the soil of your soul. The Buddha taught that even a small, wholesome karma can resolve a great, unwholesome karma. Virtue is not weakness. It is the strength of a wise person, because only those who understand deeply dare to choose the path of not harming anyone. Even in the most painful moments, virtuous people don't need to be loud, don't need to prove anything, because they know clearly that the law of karma never errs. A virtuous heart is wholesome energy. It is like cool water, quietly flowing in the dry desert of life. Where it is present, there is life, peace, and light. There is a story I will always remember. Every time I recount it, my heart warms as if being soothed by a gentle fire on a rainy night. It is the story of An Ba, a truck driver in the Mekong Delta. An Ba was a simple man, spending his years traveling long roads, transporting goods for hire to support his wife and children. His life was not abundant, but he had a generous heart. He helped anyone in trouble, never refused anyone who needed a favor. Even if it was just a bowl of rice, some water, or a gentle word in the night, he gave it. One evening, in heavy rain, the road was empty and dark. An Ba was on his way to deliver an urgent shipment when he saw a small shadow struggling by the roadside. He stopped his truck, turned on his flashlight, and saw a small, soaking, wet Taizong with an injured leg, trembling from the cold. He looked at his watch. If he stopped too long, the shipment would be delayed. He could lose the contract. But looking at the trembling dog, its eyes pleading for help, he couldn't leave it. He took off his raincoat, wrapped it around the small animal, and took it to a roadside veterinary clinic. leaving some money, and telling the doctor, "Please help it. I have to deliver my goods." A few days later, when he returned to that road, he heard news of a serious accident that had occurred at the exact curve he would have passed if he hadn't stopped to save the dog. Hearing the news, he shivered, his heart overflowing with gratitude. He quietly looked up at the sky and silently recited, "Namo Amitabha Buddha. Thank goodness I chose to stop that day." That story made me think deeply. Sometimes a small good deed we do can be the very cause that saves us. Goodness is never lost, it only lies dormant temporarily. Then, when the conditions are ripe, it returns in another form, perhaps as peace, an opportunity, or a narrow escape from misfortune. Kindness is an invisible talisman that helps us navigate the storms of life without fear. The Buddha taught, "A virtuous person radiates light. All wholesome beings naturally approach them. This light is not something we create for others to see, but something that emanates from within when the mind is free of resentment, when the heart knows compassion and knows how to let go. Wherever kind-hearted people go, their energy makes others feel at ease. Even plants and animals can sense it. That's why there are people you feel fond of, trust, and want to be near as soon as you meet them. They don't need to say much. Just their silence is a reminder that kindness still exists in the world. Did you know? Sometimes virtuous people face many challenges because heaven wants to test if their kindness is firm. Someone once told me, "I do so many good deeds, but I still suffer. Perhaps heaven doesn't care." I just smiled and said, "It's not that heaven doesn't care. It's that heaven is refining you so that your virtuous heart becomes a diamond, brighter, more durable, not easily stained by the dust of the world." People who do evil may enjoy immediate benefits, but deep in their hearts, they are always restless. Virtuous people, despite present difficulties, still sleep peacefully and have light souls. That is true blessing. If you are tired because you feel your kindness is undervalued, I hope you will stop. Take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. In each breath, realize that every time you choose not to be angry, not to speak hurtful words, not to seek revenge, you are liberating yourself. Imagine a stream of clear water flowing through your mind, washing away all resentment, all worries. This is the practice of a virtuous person, knowing how to return to the breath, knowing how to recognize one's own heart. You don't need to do great things to be called virtuous. Sometimes, just listening to someone who is sad, smiling at someone who is tired, or gently saying thank you is enough to make a day brighter. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha once taught, "Do not underestimate small good deeds, thinking they will bear no fruit. Even the tiny drops of water can fill a pot." This statement is profound. Every kind word, every compassionate thought is a drop of water that accumulates to fill a pot of blessings. Conversely, a harsh word, an envious thought, is a speck of dust that creates unwholesome karma. Therefore, the wise never disregard small good deeds. I once met an elderly woman selling lottery tickets near a temple. She was over 70, still walking several kilometers every day to make a living. I once asked her if she suffered. She smiled kindly. Who doesn't suffer? But as long as I can still walk, still speak, still recite the Buddha's name, I feel blessed. I'm a good person. I'm poor. but I sleep peacefully. I don't worry about anything." Her answer left me speechless. In her eyes, I saw a peace that money could not buy. It was a peace that came from contentment and a virtuous heart. If you have time right now, place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Each beat is a reminder that you are alive, still have an opportunity to sow wholesome seeds. Even if yesterday you spoke harsh words, or today you feel you weren't good enough. As long as you recognize it and turn towards goodness, you have started anew. No one is perfect, but everyone can choose to be better than yesterday. That is the spirit of Buddhism, always giving us the opportunity to start over, or to purify karma, to return to the bright path. I remember a Zen master saying, "When our heart is kind, the world around us also becomes gentle. Indeed, you will find others more lovable. When your mind softens, you will find life less harsh. When your mind is less judgmental, every virtuous action, every wholesome thought is like a small light in the darkness, illuminating not only for others, but also for yourself." Now I want to invite you to practice a little. Sit still. Relax your shoulders. Relax your hands. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. As you inhale, silently say, "I sow wholesome seeds." As you exhale, silently say, "I send out peace." Repeat this a few times, allowing the energy of goodness to spread within you. You will feel lighter, as if you have just been cleansed by a cool, clear stream. That is the simplest way to live virtuously with every breath. Life is a garden. Every thought, every action is a seed. If we sow wholesome seeds, even if the soil is barren, the weather harsh, one day flowers will still bloom. But if we sow unwholesome seeds, even with favorable rain and wind, weeds will sooner or later grow. So, dear friend, choose to sow goodness every day. Don't be afraid of being exploited. Don't be afraid of being ridiculed. Because a good heart is the most beautiful part of a human being, the most precious legacy you leave to the world. When you live virtuously, peace will naturally find you. Noble people will appear, and blessings will follow you like a shadow. And if today you feel small in this vast life, remember that it is precisely these small but virtuous acts that create lasting strength. Like Anba, the driver who stopped to save the dog. Like the old woman who still smiled despite poverty. Like you, listening to every word of the Buddha's teaching to find peace. These are all wholesome seeds being sown in the garden of your mind. Live virtuously, speak kindly, think good thoughts, for that is the closest path to peace, happiness, and liberation. When your heart is gentle, you will no longer fear what anyone does, no longer resent anyone, no longer wish to contend. At that moment, you will understand the saying, "Let others do what they do," is not indifference, but the wisdom of letting go. That is when you are truly free, truly at peace in the human world. My dear friend, have you ever felt that in life you always have to try to prove something to others? Trying to prove that you are better, more right, more deserving, or more recognized? Have you ever felt tired of having to maintain a perfect, strong, superior image so that others don't look down on you? Actually, all of us have been like that at some point. Because deep within each person, there is still an ego that wants to be praised, acknowledged, and respected. But that very ego, if not enlightened by wisdom and humility, will gradually become a barrier, preventing us from entering the path of peace and liberation. The Buddha once taught, "The wise know how to humble themselves. The foolish are always arrogant." A concise sentence, yet it contains an entire truth about human existence. When we know how to be humble, that is when our mind softens, brightens, and lightens. When we are arrogant, that is when we are imprisoned by our own ego in the shackles of illusion. Human suffering does not lie in circumstances, but in our lack of mindfulness to realize that in this life, no one is superior or inferior to another. Only those who are more mindful, who know how to lay down the ego sooner, are happier. I remember once a spiritual friend told me a very ordinary story, yet it contained a great lesson. It was the story of Ms. May, a middle-aged woman who diligently went to the temple, loved listening to Dharma talks, and enjoyed talking about Buddhist teachings, but had not truly lived by the spirit of the Buddha's teachings. She often shared with everyone that she understood the Dharma, had practiced for many years, and even advised others to do good and avoid evil. But deep down, she still harbored a conceited thought, believing she knew more than others. When she heard someone share something that didn't align with her views, she would immediately refute it, thinking they hadn't realized as much as she had. One day, during a Dharma talk, the master looked at her, smiled gently, and said, "A full cup cannot hold any more water. If you want to drink cool water, first pour out the old water in your heart." Ms. Mai was startled. The master's words were like a tiny needle gently touching the bubble of ego she had held for so long. After that session, she went home and pondered silently. She realized that all this time, she had gone to the temple not to cultivate her mind, but to prove to others that she understood the Dharma. From then on, she began to change. She spoke less, listened more, argued less, and was less insistent on being right. Gradually, she felt her mind lighten, her heart become more peaceful. And surprisingly, the more humble she became, the more people liked her, and she herself learned more than before. That small story is actually a reflection of many of us, not just in spiritual practice, but even in daily life. The desire to be superior to others always subtly exists. We may not say it out loud, but when someone does better, we feel a pang. When someone is praised, we feel envious. When someone offers advice, we feel annoyed. That is the ego growing larger, without us even knowing it. The Buddha taught that all suffering arises from ego clinging. When we cling to I, we create distinctions. If there is I, there are others. There is superiority, inferiority, gain, loss. When the mind still has such comparisons, we cannot truly be at peace. The wise don't need to prove anything because they understand that everything is impermanent, changing every second. Today we are skillful. Tomorrow, someone else is more skillful. Today we are beautiful. Tomorrow, beauty fades. Today we have power. Tomorrow, that power is gone. Only a humble mind, always self-effacing, is what lasts forever. Did you know? humility is not weakness, but the strength of the wise. When we know how to humble ourselves, we are no longer afraid of being hurt by others' words. When we know how to listen, we no longer need to argue to be right. When we know how to admit mistakes, we are no longer secretly tormented by the ego. Humility helps us slow down, look deeper, and see ourselves and others more clearly. That is wisdom. Someone asks me, how can I cultivate humility in a society where everyone wants to stand out, wants to be recognized? I smiled and said, start by learning to listen. When you truly listen to someone, you are opening your heart, accepting that the other person also has something valuable. When you sincerely praise someone, you are sowing a wholesome seed in your mind. When you dare to say, I was wrong, you are watering the seed of humility within yourself. In Buddhism, a humble person is a wise person because they are not controlled by the ego. They live with an empty, open mind, and because of this, wisdom naturally manifests, just as a calm lake surface reflects the sky. A turbulent water surface only shows chaos. The human mind is the same. When it is calm, we see the true nature of all phenomena. When it is filled with arrogance, we only see ourselves and not the truth. One day, try to observe yourself. When someone praises you, does your heart rejoice? When someone criticizes you, does your heart get angry? If there is still agitation, there is still ego. And only when you hear praise and your heart remains calm, hear criticism, and your mind remains at peace, then you are truly wise. The Buddha once said, when others scold you, if you can maintain a calm mind, that is when you have conquered yourself. That saying is a very profound reminder. Conquering others is not a victory. Conquering oneself is the true victory. When we conquer the ego, we will feel a very strange joy, light and deep, like a cool breeze sweeping through the soul after a storm. To cultivate a humble mind, you can practice daily with a small meditation. Sit still, relax your body, close your eyes, take a deep breath. As you exhale, silently say in your heart, I am learning to humble myself. As you inhale, feel the breath pass through your nose, down to your chest, then spread throughout your body. As you exhale, imagine the fragments of pride and arrogance in your mind dissolving with your breath. Just doing this for a few minutes will lighten your mind. Gradually, your heart will naturally feel more at peace when facing others. You can also practice gratitude as a way to be humble. Each morning when you wake up, silently say, thank you for still being alive. When you eat, say, thank you for the food. When someone helps you, even with a small matter, bow your head and thank them from the bottom of your heart. Gratitude is the foundation of humility, because a grateful person understands that nothing in this life is created by oneself alone. Everything arises from causes and conditions, from the confluence of many people and many things. When we clearly see that, the ego naturally diminishes. I remember a Zen master saying, a lotus flower never says it is fragrant, because anyone passing by can naturally perceive its scent. A humble person is the same. They don't need to boast, don't need to prove anything, just quietly live well. And life naturally emanates fragrance. People often mistakenly believe that they must speak a lot, must express a lot to be respected. But the truth is the opposite. The deeper a person is, the more humble they are. The wiser a person is, the less they speak. Because they understand that what is truly precious doesn't need to be displayed to still shine brightly. My dear friend, in life there are times when we have to suffer loss, take a step back, or remain silent. Not because we are weak, but because we understand. A person who understands the Dharma is not someone who always wins, but someone who knows when to lose to maintain inner peace. When we humble ourselves, we lose nothing. On the contrary, we gain everything: respect, people's affection, and inner peace. Once again, I want to reiterate the Buddha's saying, "The wise know how to humble themselves. The foolish are always arrogant." Humbling oneself is not losing value, but returning to the most gentle and pure essence of the mind. When we humble ourselves, wisdom enters. When we bow our heads, the sky can reflect upon us. If today you are feeling heavy-hearted because someone has offended you, because of criticism, or because you feel looked down upon, please pause for a moment. Take a deep breath in, then exhale very slowly. Look within, and you will see that anger and self-pride are just clouds passing through the mind. If you don't cling to them, they will dissolve. When you let go, you will understand that no one can hurt you unless you allow it. Practice humbling yourself a little each day. When you encounter unpleasant people, smile. When you hear someone judging, listen with a calm mind. When you succeed in something, silently thank the conditions. When you fail, reflect on what you have learned. Life is inherently a training ground for us to practice, and the virtue of humility is a door that opens to the light of liberation in everyday life. When you live with a humble mind, all your relationships will gradually change. Family members will find you gentler. Friends will find you more approachable. Work will be more favorable. And above all, you will feel more at peace within yourself, because you no longer have to strain to prove anything. You are simply yourself, kind, genuine, and serene. You and I, we are all on a journey of learning to be human. No one is perfect, and no one achieves complete enlightenment overnight. But as long as each day we diminish a little bit of arrogance, lessen one contentious word, add one word of thanks, one smile, one act of listening, we are moving closer to wisdom and liberation. Remember that humility is not just a virtue, but a practice. It doesn't make us small. It makes our mind vaster than ever before. And when the mind is vast, the storms of life can no longer shake us. Now, you can close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in. Feel the breath passing through your chest. As you exhale, silently say, "I vow to live with a humble mind." Repeat this a few times, and you will feel a warm light spreading within your heart, gentle and soft, like a peaceful breeze blowing through this often turbulent life. Humbling oneself is not bowing before others, but bowing before the arrogance in one's own heart. When you can do that, you will realize that happiness has never been far away. It has always been within the heart of one who knows how to live with humility and clear wisdom. My dear friend, have you ever, on weary days, paused and thought about how many helping hands have guided your life? There are people who cross our path only for a moment, but leave a warmth in our hearts that cannot be forgotten. There are people who have journeyed with us for a part of our lives, sacrificing silently, without expecting anything in return. Some are mothers, some are fathers, some are teachers, some are friends, sometimes just a stranger in the stream of life. But all are conditions, all are deep kindness, difficult to repay. Life sometimes sweeps people into the whirlwind of livelihood and fame, making us forget that the root of happiness does not lie in what we have, but in a grateful heart. A heart that does not know gratitude is like barren land. No matter how many seeds of blessing are sown, it is difficult for them to germinate. The Buddha taught that a grateful person is close to the Dharma, because gratitude is an expression of a bright mind, of wisdom, of one who understands the causes and conditions in life. I have met many people who complained that their lives were truly miserable. They tried hard, but still found no peace. But when I asked them, "Do you often think about who has helped you? Do you ever say thank you, even if only in your heart?" Most of them remained silent. It's not that they are ungrateful, but that they forget. They forget that gratitude is not just saying thank you with your mouth, but a vibration in the heart. It is how we live in a way that is worthy of what we have received. The Buddha taught that there are 4 great kindnesses that a practitioner must remember. The kindness of parents who gave birth and nurtured us. The kindness of teachers who taught and guided us. The kindness of the nation and society that provides us with an environment to live. And the kindness of all sentient beings that sustain us every day. When we are aware of these 4 kindnesses, we live differently. We eat a mouthful of rice and feel grateful to the farmer. We drink a drop of water and feel grateful to heaven and earth. We look at our aging parents and feel grateful for their upbringing. We listen to the Dharma and feel grateful for the opening of our minds. Gratitude is a seed of blessing. And those who live in gratitude and repay kindness are naturally protected by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, because such a mind is the mind of one who is inclined towards goodness. I want to tell you a small, very ordinary story that has stayed with me forever. In a poor rural village, there lived a boy named Duk. Duk's family was very poor. Only he and his mother relied on each other. His mother worked as a day laborer, waking up before dawn every day to walk over 3 kilometers to take her son to school. His mother's sandals were worn out, the straps broken many times, tied back together with nylon string. There were days when it rained, and his mother would still wade through the muddy road so her son wouldn't be late for school. Little Duk often looked at her cracked feet, her worn sandals, and could only bow his head in silence. He didn't know what to say, only tried to study very well to please his mother. Months and years passed. Duk grew up, left his village for the city to study and work. On the first day, he received his salary. The first thing he did was buy his mother a pair of beautiful, sturdy new sandals. When he gave them to her, he emotionally said, "Mom, from now on, you don't have to wear the old sandals anymore. I can take care of you now." But his mother just smiled, her trembling hand stroking his head. "My son, I don't need new sandals. I just need you to live kindly. That is the greatest kindness you can repay me." That saying was etched deep in Duk's heart. Later, after he became successful, he still kept his mother's worn sandals as a treasure. Whenever he felt tired or arrogance arose in his heart, he would look at those sandals to remind himself that everything we have is created from the love and kindness of others. And as his mother once said, the kindness of mother and life does not lie in material things, but in a grateful heart. That story left me speechless because gratitude doesn't require grand actions, just a grateful heart. Some people may give their parents panipujahin houses, but still lack gratitude, because they do it only to prove something, not out of true appreciation. Others may not have much, but just a hand clasp, a word of inquiry, an act of listening makes the recipient feel warm inside. The blessings of a grateful person do not lie in wealth, but in a sincere heart. The Buddha taught that the kindness of parents is as vast as the sky and sea, difficult to repay fully. Parents not only give us this body, but also endure countless harms, sacrifices, and patience for us to become who we are. Some people, while their parents are alive, are busy with life, rarely checking in, rarely visiting. Then, when their parents pass away, they regret it, wanting to do something, but it's too late. If today you still have your parents, even just a word of inquiry, even a small gesture, give it to them. Because if gratitude is not sown today, tomorrow it will only be regret. A grateful person not only looks upward, but also looks around. We are grateful to our teachers for opening the path for us to learn the Dharma, grateful to friends for sharing difficult times with us, grateful to those who have hurt us, because they helped us learn the lesson of letting go, even grateful for adversity, because without suffering, we would never grow. When we look at life with eyes of gratitude, we see meaning in everything. Once a student asked a Zen master, "Teacher, how can I live in gratitude amidst a life full of injustice?" The master smiled and replied, "Look at the sun. It still shines on both good and bad people. Gratitude is not because life treats you well, but because you understand that everything that comes has a reason for you to learn." When we see that, we truly step into the door of the Dharma. My dear friend, sometimes we forget kindness not because we are bad, but because we live too fast. We let our hearts be influenced by work, social media, pressure, and then forget the simplest things. But just one moment of stopping, we can rekindle that energy of gratitude. Let's try a small practice. Right now, you can sit still, close your eyes, take a deep breath. As you inhale, think of someone who has helped you in your life, whether it's a loved one or a stranger. As you exhale, silently send them words of thanks in your heart. I am grateful. I wish blessings upon you. Just a few minutes like this, you will feel a warmth rise in your heart, a gentle peace. Meditation is not always sitting under a tree, closing your eyes, and looking inward. Meditation can be when you wash dishes and feel grateful for clean water, when you eat and taste the sweetness of rice and remember the farmer, when you go to work and are grateful for your health and opportunity, when you meet someone who irritates you but can still smile and think, "Thank you for helping me learn patience." That is meditation in daily life. A person with a grateful heart always radiates a beautiful energy. They don't need to preach morality, but everyone near them feels peaceful. Because gratitude is the vibration of love, and love is the highest frequency of blessings. When the heart gives thanks, the universe responds with abundance. When the heart blames, blessings naturally drift away. Once, someone asked the Buddha, "How can one achieve great merit?" The Buddha smiled and replied, "Gratitude is the greatest merit, because a grateful person never lives in lack." Indeed, when we are grateful, we no longer feel lack, because wherever we look, we see kindness. A cool glass of water is precious. A gust of wind is also a blessing. A traveling companion is also a karmic connection. When the heart is full of gratitude, blessings spontaneously arise, and karma naturally transforms. I believe that no one walks alone in life. Every step we take has the footprints of others imprinted alongside ours. Every tear we shed has an invisible hand wiping it dry. When we look at life with such eyes, we feel our hearts soften, lighten. And from that, we naturally want to live more kindly, want to help others more, because that is how we repay life. Have you ever noticed that grateful people often live longer, healthier, and happier lives? It's not because they have more blessings, but because their minds have fewer afflictions. People who often blame or resent have minds that are always constricted, crowded, and prone to illness. Grateful people have open minds, their blood and chi flow freely, and smiles naturally appear on their lips. That is present blessing. If today you are going through difficulties, try changing your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this here to teach me?" When you replace resentment with gratitude, you will find life much lighter. Everything is a lesson in causes and conditions, and gratitude is the way to dissolve old karma and create new blessings. I want to invite you to practice a deep breath of gratitude with me. Inhale, feeling the breath entering and nourishing your whole body. Exhale, silently saying, "I am grateful for this life." Inhale, think of parents, teachers, loved ones. Exhale, send them a blessing. Inhale, think of those who have hurt you. Exhale, smile, forgive, and say in your heart, "Thank you, because thanks to them, I have grown." Continue like this. Each breath is a flower of gratitude blooming in your heart. My dear friend, gratitude is not just an action of a moral person, but the energy of a wise person. Because a grateful person understands that nothing is truly ours alone. All are dependent arising. When the mind is full of gratitude, we no longer feel lonely, no longer feel life is unfair, no longer see anyone as an enemy. Everything becomes light, and that is the greatest blessing that Buddhism wants to bestow upon us. So from today, wherever you are, whether happy or sad, live with a grateful heart. Be grateful to those who give, grateful to those who take, grateful for favorable circumstances, grateful for adverse circumstances, because all are part of the journey that helps us grow and awaken. When you live in gratitude, your life will naturally change. Blessings will find you, noble people will appear, and peace will remain. For as the Buddha taught, a grateful person is close to the Dharma, and the Dharma is the path back to oneself, where the mind is peaceful, wisdom is clear, and the heart is full of love. Have you ever felt that you wanted to do a good deed, but then hesitated, wavered, only to miss the opportunity, followed by a silent, lingering regret in your heart? Sometimes it's just a small action, a fleeting moment that could bring peace to someone else, but we let it slip away. Then we tell ourselves, "Next time, I'll do it. Next time, I won't miss it. But sometimes, there is no next time. Life is inherently short and impermanent. Every passing moment is a speck of time dissolving into emptiness. A kind heart, if not acted upon in time, is like a seed not sown in the soil, forever lying inert in a clenched, meaningless hand. Did you know? Many people in this life live with kind hearts, but lack a bit of decisiveness, a bit of courage to do the right thing. They are afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of trouble, afraid of others' judgment. And from that fear, they withdraw, they remain silent, and they let goodness slip from their grasp. But the Buddha taught that one who knows but does not act is no different from one who has eyes but refuses to open them, who has hands but refuses to grasp. A kind heart is not just a thought, but an action. Only when there is action do blessings arise. In ancient times, a venerable monk asked his disciple, "If you see someone falling into a river, will you save them?" The disciple replied, "I will first see if the water is deep, if there are dangerous fish, and then I will decide." The monk smiled and said, "By the time you finish calculating, that person will have drowned. A kind heart cannot wait." Because when we hesitate, we lose the golden moment of our true mind. A good intention without action is just floating clouds, unable to become refreshing rain for the earth. I know there are times when your heart has been like that. Times you wanted to help someone, but were afraid of being misunderstood. Wanted to say a comforting word, but feared they didn't want to hear it. Wanted to apologize to someone, but pride kept your mouth shut. All these are beautiful seeds of goodness, but because they weren't sown in time, our lives remain dry, still feeling that something is missing. Blessings do not come from knowing what is good, but from doing what is good. The Buddha taught that to know, but not to do, is to waste a lifetime. That sentence sounds simple, but is truly profound. Many people think that practice means chanting the Buddha's name a lot, reciting sutras a lot. But sometimes, just one kind act born from a sincere heart brings greater blessings than 100,000 empty recitations. I remember one rainy afternoon, a small story I witnessed that has stayed with me forever. It was about Ms. Lan, an ordinary woman, like many others. That day, she was returning home from work. A sudden rainstorm poured down. The roads were slippery. Traffic was busy. Amidst the rushing crowds, she saw an elderly woman fall by the roadside, her hands trembling as she tried to get up. A strong sense of kindness arose in Ms. Lan, wanting to stop her car and help the old woman up. But then another thought intruded. People will think I'm meddling. Or what if I'm falsely accused? The rain became heavier. She hesitated, then quietly drove on. Just a few seconds later, a young man rushed forward, helped the old woman up, guided her under a shelter, and took her to a nearby clinic. The next day, the story was reported in the news. People praised the kind young man. Ms. Lan read the article, her heart heavy. She wasn't jealous, just felt a creeping regret. She realized that if she had just stopped for one more second that day, if she had been a little more decisive, perhaps the joy of saving that person would have been hers. From then on, she vowed to herself that if she had an opportunity to do a good deed, no matter how small, she would never miss it. That story is simple, but reflects our very real psychology. People often fear trouble, loss, or inconvenience, thereby missing opportunities to do good. But the paradox is that precisely when we act kindly, we find peace. Every time you help someone, you will feel your heart warm. That warmth doesn't come from praise, but from the vibrant feeling of compassion. The Buddha taught, whenever a wholesome thought arises, act immediately. Because in that moment, the energy of compassion is most powerfully manifest. If we hesitate, that energy weakens, suppressed by rational calculations. Therefore, a wise person is someone who knows how to listen to the call of a kind heart, and does not let reason impede the path of action. A Zen master once said, "Every wholesome thought that arises is a Buddha knocking at the door. If we open the door, the Buddha enters. If we hesitate, the door closes." Life is a flow of cause and effect. Every time you do a good deed, even as small as picking up a leaf from a path, you are sowing a wholesome cause. That cause may not bear fruit immediately, but when conditions are ripe, it will blossom into a flower of peace. Don't you see? When we help someone, not only is that person saved, but we ourselves are also saved. We save our own minds from indifference, from insensitivity, from the darkness of hesitation. A good deed not only changes others, but also changes us. It makes our hearts more open, our minds brighter, and our hearts less fearful. Once, I met an old man selling lottery tickets at the temple gate. He shivered and said, "It's so cold today. Everyone is rushing." I asked him, "Are you very cold?" He smiled and said, "It's cold, but seeing someone smile at me makes me warm." That remark silenced me. It turns out sometimes doing good doesn't have to be a big deal. A smile, a sympathetic look, is also sowing seeds of goodness. And those small seeds of goodness, when accumulated, will become immeasurably great blessings. Do you know why the Buddha taught us to act kindly whenever possible? Because the human mind is inherently impermanent. Today you may have a kind heart, but tomorrow that heart may no longer be there. Today you feel compassion for someone, but tomorrow when they say something unpleasant, you may close your heart. Today you have the strength to help someone, but tomorrow this body may be tired. Therefore, whenever you have the opportunity to do good, do it immediately, as if this is the last time you can do it. Doing good does not require waiting for ideal conditions, because the true condition lies in the heart. Many people think they must be rich to help others, must have time to practice, must wait until they are free to chant the Buddha's name. But dear friend, right now, as you breathe gently and think of someone with love, you are already doing good. Doing good is not only about giving money, but also about giving a smile, kind words, a tolerant gaze. Amidst a busy life, when everyone is rushing, the person who can pause for a moment to listen, to help, is the one sowing blessings. Decisiveness in doing good is an expression of wisdom. Because the wise know that opportunities for good deeds are finite, while hesitant people are often pulled back by their ego, fearing loss, fearing making a mistake, fearing others' ridicule. But the more we fear, the more we lose, losing opportunities, losing blessings, losing inner peace. The Buddha taught, when you do a good deed, Don't think you are helping someone else, but know that you are helping yourself. Every time you do something good, don't let your mind dwell on repayment, and don't wait for anyone to know. Because a good heart is only pure when it is not bound by fame or profit. When you do good without expecting anything, your blessings will be as vast as the sky and sea. Now, try a small practice with me. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, feel the breath entering and exiting. In this quiet moment, think of a small thing you can do for someone today. Perhaps call a relative you haven't seen in a long time, or yield the road to someone who is in a hurry, or simply say a sincere thank you. Hold that image in your mind, then exhale gently. Promise yourself that when you open your eyes, you will do it. When we make such a decision, the energy of wholesome deeds is awakened. You will feel more at peace, lighter, because you have not only thought, but have initiated the action. Life doesn't require us to do grand things, just that we don't let our good intentions die young in hesitation. Remember, blessings are not in the outcome, but in the moment you initiate a sincere intention and act upon it. Perhaps the person you helped won't know. Perhaps no one will praise you. But heaven and earth know. And most importantly, you know. You know that today you have lived a meaningful day. Life is like a river. Water flows ceaselessly. A person who acts kindly and decisively is like a clear stream flowing straight and smoothly. A hesitant, wavering person is like stagnant water, unable to sustain life. So, if one day you hear your heart calling, help, forgive, love, then do it immediately, because that call will not last forever. When we live with a mind that acts kindly in time, we will find life lighter. Everything that happens, whether good or bad, is an opportunity for us to refine our minds. When someone hurts us, we have an opportunity to forgive. When someone needs us, we have an opportunity to sow blessings. And if we seize each of these opportunities, we are moving closer to peace, happiness, and liberation. I just want to tell you one simple thing. Your kind heart is a precious gem. Don't let the dust of life obscure it. When a good thought arises in your heart, act on it immediately, no matter how small. Because sometimes, just one drop of wholesome water is enough to cool the desert of another soul. And when you do good, you are sowing light for your own path. I hope that, after listening, you will dare to live more fully with your heart. Dare to do what is right without hesitation. Dare to love without fear. For that is the spirit of the wise, the one who acts kindly without wavering. And in every breath of life, I hope you always maintain that light, so that wherever you go, you are a small star illuminating the hearts of others. Have you ever felt tiny waves of greed in your heart, subtly creeping in like silent gusts of wind, yet capable of toppling an entire lifetime? Greed for money, greed for love, greed for fame, greed for others' affection, greed for praise and respect. Every day, we live within these desires, without realizing that they are precisely what make us tired, stressed, and suffering. Sometimes you feel you have enough, but then you look around and see others have more, and a little comparison arises in your heart. You try harder, run faster, but the more you run, the further you get from happiness. What is called wanting a little more turns out to be a tight rope that makes us lose the peace we inherently possess. In life today, greed is no longer just a matter of bad people or money-hungry individuals. It hides deep within very ordinary things. A mother wants her child to study better than other people's children. A husband wants to have more to be considered the family's pillar. A female employee just wants a little recognition to be acknowledged. No one is bad. No one is evil. But these desires, when they exceed the limit of enough, turn into a burden. That is when greed begins to lead us astray from the path of goodness. The Buddha taught that when greed arises, blessings dissipate. When the mind is controlled by greed, we can no longer see goodness, no longer hear the voice of conscience. Greed makes people act wrongly, speak wrongly, and think wrongly. It makes us fall into an endless spiral. No matter how much we have, it's never enough. No matter how much we receive, it still feels lacking. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha once said, "One who has 1 handful of rice desires 10. One who has 10 desires 100. Greed is like fire. The more fuel you add, the bigger it burns." Try to look back and see how many times you told yourself, "Just this once," but then repeated it. A beautiful item, a business opportunity, a compliment, all can become bait for greed. It is not a sin, but in delusion. When greed arises, your mind is no longer free. You fear loss, you calculate, you are vigilant, and you lose sleep. Greed is like a rope tied tightly around a person's neck. You think you are controlling everything, but in reality, you are being controlled by your own desires. I want to tell you a very real story. The story of Mr. Tan, a man I once met when I was still at the temple. He was the owner of a chain of large hotels. People called him the region's billionaire. But for many years, he didn't sleep a single night peacefully. He feared employees cheating, feared being robbed, feared losing capital, feared losing face with friends, and even feared illness stealing the empire he had built. One day, during a business trip, he fainted in the middle of a meeting. The doctor told him he had no serious illness, just stress, chronic insomnia, a tired heart, and a mind always as tense as a stretched wire. Mr. Tan sought help in many places, saw psychologists, took medicine, went on retreats, but still didn't improve. Until one day, he came to the temple for a donation ceremony. While resting in the courtyard, he heard the abbot preach a sentence from the Dhammapada: "Knowing contentment is peace." That saying was like a gentle touch, yet it pierced deep into his heart. That evening, he came to see the monk. He poured out his heart, from the fear of loss to the feeling of emptiness standing amidst his own vast wealth. The monk just smiled, poured him a cup of tea, and said, "One who knows contentment is at peace even lying on a torn mat. One who does not know contentment is restless even sitting on gold and silver." From then on, Mr. Tan began to learn to let go. Initially, it was small things, interfering less in employees' work, checking fewer figures, comparing daily profits less often. After that, he spent time going to the temple, listening to Dharma talks, reading sutras. He realized that wealth is merely external. Whether one keeps it or not is less important than whether one can keep a serene mind. After a while, he decided to use part of his wealth for charity. He built bridges for poor villages, established scholarships for orphans, and especially helped poor patients with money for treatment. Surprisingly, as he gave, his mind suddenly lightened. Every night he slept well, no longer needing sleeping pills, no longer seeing doctors. It was simply that when he could let go of mine, sleep naturally returned. Once again, he returned to the temple, clasped his hands in gratitude to the monk. He said, "I don't understand why. Just letting go a little made life so much lighter." The monk smiled. "Because you let go in the right place. When you let go of greed, you open the door to peace." Mr. Tan's story is like a mirror for each of us to look into. Not everyone is a billionaire, but everyone has something to fear losing, to greedily hold on to. The poor crave food and clothes. The rich crave fame. The lonely crave affection. The famous crave admiration. Only when we realize that the root of greed is not knowing contentment can we begin to find true peace. The Buddha taught, "One who knows contentment is the richest. One who knows when to stop is the happiest." Knowing contentment does not mean stopping development, but stopping blind desires. When we strive with a pure mind, not driven by craving, but by the desire to live fully, blessings naturally arise. But when we act out of greed, even if it's a good deed, merit is difficult to complete. You see, greed is like a layer of dust covering the mirror of the mind. The mirror is inherently bright, but because the dust is too thick, the light cannot reflect. Letting go of greed is wiping away that layer of dust so that the light of compassion and wisdom can manifest. Many people tell me, "I'm not greedy for anything. I just want to have enough to live." But when we dig deeper, we will see that the word enough has no end. Today, we feel content with a small house. Tomorrow, we want a bigger house, then a car, then a bit of fame. And once we have it, we fear losing it. Greed exists not only when we don't have something, but also when we do. Greed prevents us from ever truly living in the present. It pulls us back to the past, filled with regret, and to the future, filled with fear. Letting go of greed is returning to this moment, where we realize that just a peaceful breath, a warm cup of tea, a gentle smile are enough. You can try a small practice right now. Sit still, relax your shoulders, close your eyes, and bring your attention to your breath. As you inhale, you know you are inhaling. As you exhale, you know you are exhaling. In each breath, silently remind yourself, "I am grateful that I am still alive." Feel your breath moving in and out, like the flow of life passing through you. When your mind begins to settle, gently observe what you are still clinging to in your heart. Is it an unfulfilled desire? A regret? Someone you want to hold on to? Look at them like clouds, not chasing, not clinging, just watching the clouds come and go. Greed is the same. Now, try writing down 3 things you can let go of today. It could be letting go of comparison, letting go of an unnecessary item, letting go of worry about what others think. Each time you let go of something, you will feel a space opening up in your heart. That is where peace resides. That is the small door leading to liberation that the Buddha called nirvana in every mindful moment. Once someone asked the Buddha, "How can one escape suffering?" The Buddha replied, "Let go." The person continued to ask, "Let go of what?" The Buddha said, "Let go of greed. Let go of anger. Let go of delusion." The person still didn't understand and asked again, "But if I let go of everything, What will be left? The Buddha smiled. Peace. When we let go of greed, our mind is no longer bound by gain and loss. We act out of joy, not for profit. We live out of love, not fear. We help out of compassion, not for merit. In that very moment, we touch true freedom. If one day you find your heart full of calculations, remember Mr. Thun's story. Remember the cup of tea in the temple courtyard, where he learned that knowing contentment is peace. Then return to yourself. Take a deep breath, smile, and tell yourself, I am enough. When you utter those two words with all your gratitude, you will feel a source of light energy spreading throughout your body and mind. That is not a temporary feeling of satisfaction, but the state of someone who truly understands that happiness does not lie in having a lot, but in knowing what one has. I want to send you a wish. May you always have enough wisdom to recognize when greed arises, enough courage to let go, and enough compassion to forgive yourself when you accidentally cling. Each time you let go of something, you're taking another step on the path to liberation. Like a lotus growing out of mud, the higher it rises, the purer its fragrance. Letting go is not losing, but returning. Letting go is not weakness, but strength. Because only those who deeply understand impermanence dare to let go. You see, this life is short. Wealth, fame, relationships will all fade like morning dew under the sun. Only a kind heart, a contented mind, a sahasrara mind that lets go, are the provisions that will follow us forever. The Buddha once taught, no one carries wealth with them. Only wholesome and unwholesome karma follow. So let your heart be light as a cloud, vast as the sky. When you can let go of greed, you lose nothing. You only gain more peace, more ease, more light in your heart. And that is the gateway to the path of liberation. Have you ever felt so tired that you just wanted to let go of everything, but couldn't let go of anything? There are nights spent in darkness, where old memories play over and over in your mind, like a movie reel. Words spoken, people who have left, things that could have been different. They cling to your mind like invisible hooks. You want to forget. You want to lighten your heart. But the more you want to forget, the more you remember. The harder you try to let go, the heavier it becomes. Sadness, anger, regret, fear. They creep in like tiny specks of dust, seemingly harmless, but gradually covering your entire heart. Everyone in this life has to go through losses. Some lose money, some lose loved ones, some lose love, some lose faith in themselves. Each loss is a pain. But what makes us suffer the most is not the loss itself, but our unwillingness to let go. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. When we cling, we tie ourselves to things that no longer exist. The tighter we hold, the more we are pulled down. It's like holding a hot coal in your hand. The tighter you clench, the more your hand gets burned. Only when you let go do you feel light. Do you realize your hand is still intact, ready to receive new things? Someone asked me, "What does it mean to let go, Master?" I'm afraid letting go means forgetting, abandoning, being indifferent. I smiled and said, letting go is not abandoning, but letting go of the clinging mind. When you lose someone you love, you don't need to forget them. You just need to stop tormenting yourself because they have left. When someone hurts you, you don't need to pretend it never happened. You just need to not let that pain control your present. Letting go doesn't mean being cold. It means being compassionate to yourself. I remember a small story I once heard at a little temple in the Mekong Delta about a woman named Mrs. Sao. Mrs. Sao was over 70, living alone in an old house. 10 years ago, her husband passed away from illness. From that day on, she lived in memories and tears. Every morning when she woke up, she would look at his picture on the altar, talking as if he were still there. She recounted old stories. She complained. She blamed fate for being too cruel. Every evening, she lit incense and cried. Neighbors kindly advised her to go to the temple to find solace. But she said, "If I go, he'll be lonely at home." Then, one day, she heard a Dharma talk on the radio about the Buddha's teaching. Letting go is not abandoning, but letting go of the clinging mind. That saying silenced her. She wondered if, all this time, she wasn't holding on to him, but rather holding on to her own pain. That day, she went to the temple and sat before the Buddha statue. She said through tears, "I love him, but I'm tired. I want him to rest in peace so I can also find peace." When she returned home, she placed her husband's picture on the altar as usual. But this time, instead of crying, she smiled, lit an incense stick, and said, "Rest in peace, my dear." From that day on, she no longer cried. Every morning she still talked to him, but in a happier tone. She went to the temple to learn to chant, plant flowers, and raise cats. She said, "Sadness isn't forgotten, but it's about letting the heart be free." When I heard that story, I suddenly realized that perhaps many of us are like Mrs. Sao. We hold on not because we can't forget, but because we fear that if we let go, we will lose a part of our memory, a part of ourselves. But in reality, letting go doesn't make us lose. It helps us reclaim ourselves. Because when the mind is no longer dragged to the past or bound by afflictions, we truly live in the present moment. And only in the present can peace germinate. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught, "Nothing is as dangerous as a mind that does not let go." A mind full of afflictions is like a messy house. Even if you bring in more light, it remains dark. To make it bright, you must clean it up. Each time you let go of a bit of anger, you are opening another window. Each time you let go of a regret, you are cleaning a pane of glass. And then the light of peace will gradually pour in, naturally, like a gentle breeze. Some people say, "I know letting go is good, but how can I let go?" In fact, letting go is not something that happens overnight. It is a journey of mindfulness. You don't need to force yourself to forget. You just need to be aware. Whenever afflictions arise in your mind, stop and breathe. Inhale, knowing you are feeling heavy. Exhale, releasing all resentment. Repeating this, your breath will become a companion, helping you soothe every wave in your mind. You can try it now. Sit still, relax your shoulders, gently rest your hands on your knees. Inhale deeply through your nose, slowly feel the air entering your belly. Exhale very gently through your mouth, letting all fatigue dissolve. As you inhale, silently say, "I know I have afflictions within me." As you exhale, say, "I am letting them go." Continue like this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or longer. Don't try to achieve anything. Just allow yourself to be still. In that moment, you will realize something wonderful. Afflictions don't disappear because you chase them away, but they dissolve because you no longer cling to them. It's like holding a handful of sand. The tighter you grasp, the more sand slips through. Only when you open your palm does the sand lie still. What is called letting go is really just changing how you face what is present. No longer running away, no longer clinging, just looking directly and smiling. Once, a TV program asked an old woman at a temple, "How long have you been practicing? And why are you always so cheerful?" She smiled kindly and said, "My child, before I was also angry and miserable, but now I know that what comes, comes. What goes, goes. When I let go, my heart is light. And when it's light, I just smile." After she spoke, she sat picking vegetables, humming a Buddha chant softly. I looked at her and understood. It turns out that letting go is not a grand concept, but a series of small actions in daily life. It is not retaliating when someone speaks harshly to you, not blaming anyone when you lose something, not complaining when things don't go your way. That is practice. That is letting go. The Buddha once taught, "One who knows how to let go is free." Freedom is not having everything, but not suffering even when losing. Letting go is not indifference, but understanding that everything is impermanent. When you understand impermanence, you will cherish the moment. You no longer fear loss because you know that having is also a form of loss. It just hasn't happened yet. Everything in this life is merely a coming together of conditions and then a dissolution of conditions. We meet, love each other, then part ways. All are part of the natural flow. Therefore, don't be afraid to let go. Try to start with the smallest things. Let go of a complaint. Let go of a fit of anger. Let go of an expectation. Let go of a fear. Each time you let go, you will find your mind wider, lighter. And when you are light, you have enough space to love, to understand, to live truly. Now, I want you to practice a small meditation with me. Close your eyes, inhale, and acknowledge that you still have many things you haven't let go of. Exhale, imagine dark clouds flying out of your chest. Inhale, feel the warm light entering. Exhale, feel the quiet spreading. You don't need to do anything. Just breathe. Just be. Each breath is a reminder that you are still alive. And while alive, you have the right to be at peace. Remember, letting go is not an end, but a beginning. When you let go, you are opening the door for new things to enter. When you let go of resentment, love has room to grow. When you let go of the past, the present can smile at you. Letting go doesn't make you weak, but helps you be strong enough not to be swept into life's whirlpool. If one day you find your heart still burdened by many attachments, return to your breath. For in your breath is everything you need. The Buddha once said, "In one peaceful breath is a whole peaceful lifetime." When you can let go of small worries, one by one, you will gradually be able to let go of big things. And when you let go of everything, you will see. In fact, there is nothing left to let go of, because everything is inherently empty. The Dharma channel wishes you peace. May you know contentment, know when to stop, know how to let go, so that each day passes lightly like a breeze. May you understand that letting go is not abandoning life, but living fully in every moment of life. When the mind is no longer clinging, serenity naturally arises. When the heart is no longer bound, liberation naturally occurs. And that is the path that the Buddha pointed out, the path of mindfulness, of love, of peace in every breath. My dear friend, if in the previous parts we discussed letting go, about how to lighten the afflictions in our hearts, then today I want to take another step with you on the path of peace, which is learning to purify the mind. Because only when the mind settles down, when the heart stops churning, can the light of wisdom and peace illuminate this entire body and mind. Someone once told me, I want my mind to be peaceful, but every day it's disturbed by work, pressure, and other people. I smiled and asked back, so do you set aside any time to clean up your mind, like one cleans their house every morning? The person remained silent for a long time. In life, all of us have felt our minds stretched by countless things. The ringing of a phone, a hurtful remark, a small matter that clings and won't let go. We want peace, but we haven't truly learned how to return within. It's like a lake agitated by wind. The harder you try to look down to see the bottom, the murkier the water becomes. Only when you stop, the wind subsides, and the water naturally becomes clear again. The mind is the same. The more we seek peace outside, the further we drift from ourselves. Peace is nowhere else. It is right within mindfulness, in every breath, in every moment. We know how to stop and return. The Buddha once taught in the Anguttara Nikaya that to purify the mind, one must first be close to virtuous people, uphold precepts, do good, avoid evil. Contemplate the impurity of the body. Contemplate the impermanence of the mind. Contemplate the non-self nature of phenomena. Contemplate suffering as sensation. Practice breath meditation. Cultivate loving kindness, and contemplate impermanence. These 11 methods are not lofty things for distant individuals. They are a very close, very practical path for you, the one listening to these words, to apply right in your own life. First, the Buddha taught us to be close to virtuous people, because the human mind is very easily influenced by its environment. Near angry people, we easily become hot-tempered. Near greedy people, we easily develop desires. But near gentle people, we naturally become gentler. Try to remember, when sitting beside a serene, quiet person with compassionate eyes, you naturally feel your heart soften. You want to speak more softly, breathe more slowly, live more kindly. That is the energy of a virtuous friend. The Buddha said, being close to a virtuous person is like walking through a flower garden. Even if you don't pick a single branch, the fragrance still permeates your clothes. That saying is beautiful and profound. It reminds us to choose our friends wisely, to choose the environment we live in, because that is the first step to purifying the mind. After obtaining such wholesome connections, the second thing is to uphold precepts. Precepts here are not strict rules, but a mirror reflecting our mind. When we do not kill, do not steal, do not commit sexual misconduct, do not lie, do not drink intoxicating liquor, then the mind naturally becomes bright, light, and fearless. One who upholds precepts does so not out of fear of sin, but out of compassion for oneself. Because each time we violate a precept, we harm our own soul a little. Some people think that just praying is enough, but forget that the mind cannot be purified if the body is not purified. Each precept is a protective fence, keeping us from falling into delusion. Upholding precepts is maintaining the light within oneself. Third, the Buddha taught to do good and avoid evil. This sounds familiar, but how many people understand it yet cannot do it? Doing good doesn't necessarily have to be grand. Sometimes it's just a kind word, a sympathetic look, a small act of helping someone. And avoiding evil means knowing when to stop before the mind harbors jealousy, before the mouth utters hurtful words. The Buddha said, "Do no evil, cultivate good," meaning do not commit any evil, do all good deeds. When the mind turns towards goodness, inner turbulence naturally subsides. Just as light does not need to chase away darkness, once lit, darkness naturally dissipates. The fourth is to guard one's speech karma. Some say that the mouth has no bones, but can kill without a knife. Words can save people, and they can also kill in an instant. Guarding one's speech karma is guarding the door of karma. One harsh word can make your mind restless for many days. One kind word can make both parties feel lighter. The Buddha taught that before speaking, let words pass through 3 gates. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If it passes through these 3 gates, the words will become lotus flowers, unstained by worldly dust. One who knows how to guard their mouth is one who knows how to guard their mind. The fifth is to contemplate the impurity of the body. This may sound distant, but it is actually very close. This body is a vessel for countless afflictions. We love the body, take care of it, but this body will also age, get sick, then perish. The Buddha taught contemplating the body not to despise it, but to see the truth of impermanence. When we clearly see that this body is not permanent, we become less arrogant, less clinging, less competitive. We cherish every breath, every moment of being alive. When we view the body as a temporary garment, we are lighter with every loss. Like changing old clothes for new ones, no longer sad or angry, no longer afraid. The sixth is to contemplate the impermanence of the mind. The mind is like clouds in the sky, one moment white, the next gray, sometimes joyful, then suddenly sad, sometimes loving, then resentful. When we see this impermanent nature, we are no longer led astray by the mind. We know that emotions are just passing guests, not the host. When angry, we know anger will also dissipate. When sad, we know sadness will also pass. The mind is impermanent, so do not cling. Anyone who keeps their mind stuck in the past or worries about the future is losing the present. Mindfulness is here. In every moment you breathe, you know you are alive. The seventh, contemplating the non-self nature of phenomena. All phenomena in the world have no separate, inherent self. What we call I is merely a combination of body, mind, breath, memories, emotions, and karmic conditions. When we clearly see non-self, we no longer contend for superiority, no longer cling to the small ego. At that point, everything becomes lighter, because we understand that there is no one to be angry at, nothing to lose. Like a drop of water merging into the ocean, no longer afraid, no longer lonely. Non-self is not losing oneself, but seeing oneself in everything. At that moment, compassion naturally arises. The 8th, contemplating suffering as sensation. All sensations, whether pleasant or unpleasant, carry the seed of suffering because they are impermanent. Feelings of joy will pass. Sadness will also pass. And if we cling to joy, we will fear losing it. If we fear suffering, we will become weary of life. Contemplating sensations means clearly seeing that emotions are just like waves that come and go. They are not real. When you realize this, you are no longer swept away by emotions. You can stand still amidst the waves, smile, knowing that it's all just a passing stream. And you are the observer. The 9th is contemplating the breath. The breath is the thread connecting body and mind. When you breathe consciously, the mind immediately settles. The Buddha taught that abiding in the breath is abiding in mindfulness. Inhale, you know you are inhaling. Exhale, you know you are exhaling. No need to try, just be aware. A deep enough breath can soothe even a storm in your heart. Try placing your hand on your chest right now. Inhale deeply and feel that you are alive. The breath is a miracle, an anchor that holds you steady amidst life's rush. The 10th is cultivating loving kindness. Loving kindness is the root of all wholesome phenomena. When you have loving kindness, you cannot be angry. When you have loving kindness, you cannot harm anyone. The Buddha taught, cultivate loving kindness like a mother loves her child unconditionally. Loving kindness is not weakness, but the strength of understanding. When we understand, we love. When we love, we do not cause suffering to others. Every morning you can practice loving kindness by sending wishes. May I be peaceful. May all beings be peaceful. This wish, though small, creates a very large energy, helping you be more tolerant and warm every day. And finally, the 11th is cultivating the perception of impermanence. This means always remembering that everything changes. Nothing in life lasts forever. People come and go. Spring turns to summer. Today's smile can become tomorrow's tears. But precisely because of impermanence, we learn to appreciate. Precisely because of impermanence, we learn to love, to live virtuously, to live mindfully in every moment. One who understands impermanence lives truly, lives fully, lives serenely. Impermanence does not make us afraid, but helps us awaken. My dear friend, there is a small story I want to tell you. In a poor working-class neighborhood, a group of young friends would often gather after work to drink and complain about life. One day, one of them accidentally watched a Buddhist video and heard the part about a pure mind being the source of peace. He immediately invited his friends to try spending one evening not drinking, just sitting still and listening to the Dharma. At first, everyone found it strange and boring. But gradually, as they practiced sitting still, breathing evenly, listening to their inner voice, their tempers decreased, and conflicts within the group dissolved. A month later, the whole group told each other that they had never slept so well or been so joyful. They realized that happiness didn't need to be sought far away. Simply letting their minds settle was enough. The Buddha taught that when the mind is pure, the Buddha field is pure. When your mind is clear, even in the noisy marketplace of life, you will feel as if you are in a flower garden. But if your mind is agitated, even in a monastery, you will still feel restless. Therefore, if you want this world to be peaceful, start with your own mind. When you know how to stop, know how to inhale and exhale mindfully, know how to guard your speech, know how to love others, know how to contemplate impermanence. At that very moment, you are already living in nirvana, not waiting for the next life. Now, the Dharma channel invites you to practice a little. Sit up straight, gently close your eyes, relax your shoulders. As you inhale, silently say, "I know I am breathing in." As you exhale, you say, "I know I am breathing out." Inhale, feeling life entering you. Exhale, releasing all worries. Every breath is a gift. Every mindful moment is a miracle. Right now, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to change anyone. You don't need to compare yourself to anyone. Just return. Just know that your mind is being cared for. When you truly stop, peace will naturally find you. Don't you see? The 11 methods for purifying the mind are not outside of daily life. They don't require you to abandon the world. They only remind you to be mindful within that world. Keep a virtuous mind. Keep kind speech. Keep steady breath. Live with loving kindness. Be aware of impermanence. That is living Buddhism. And when your mind is bright, you no longer fear anyone. No longer need to argue who is right or wrong. Because you know that everyone is on their own journey. Today, you can start with a small thing. Smile when you wake up. Say a kind word. Sit quietly for 5 minutes with your breath. Be grateful for a small thing in your day. That alone is a long step on the path to liberation. The Buddha is not far away. The Buddha is the stillness in your own mind. When the mind is pure, you will find everything truly simple, light, and wonderfully beautiful. May you sleep peacefully tonight, with a bright mind and a light heart. Let these 11 methods permeate your every day, every breath. For when your mind is pure, all suffering will dissipate like mist under the morning sun, and you will smile, realizing that peace has never left you. My dear friend, have you ever wondered why in this life some people are born wealthy, loved, and abundant, while others have to bear suffering, lack, and are crushed by life? Have you ever felt unfairness and asked why bad people prosper while good people suffer? These questions are probably something each of us has thought about at some point in our lives. But if you pause for a moment, look deeper into the cycle of karma and rebirth, you will realize that nothing is accidental. Nothing comes without a reason. Every experience we encounter, every person we love or hate, every joy or sorrow, is the result of the seeds we have sown in the past. Sometimes from this life, sometimes from many ancient lives. The ancients had a saying, "As you sow, so shall you reap." That seemingly simple saying is actually the most secret and most just operating law of the universe. The Buddha once taught that living beings, due to delusion, create karma. Due to karma, they experience results. Due to results, they suffer. When one awakens to the causes and conditions of karma and its fruits, suffering immediately dissipates. This means that when we understand the roots of what is happening, we will stop blaming and begin to transform ourselves. You see, humans often chase after external things: money, fame, status, forgetting that what truly follows us throughout the cycle of rebirth is not those material things, but karma, what we have done, thought, and said. Karma never disappears. It just lies dormant, waiting for the right conditions to bear fruit. The first story I want to tell you is about a wealthy man and his 4 wives. Perhaps you've heard it somewhere, but today I want to recount it in a gentler tone so you can feel its message more deeply. In ancient times, there lived an immensely wealthy man, residing in a magnificent palace with abundant money and no shortage of servants. He had 4 wives. His 4th wife was his most beloved. He pampered her, buying her the most precious things: gold, jewels, silks, and beautiful clothes. He also loved his 3rd wife very much, often taking her to parties, showing her off to his friends. He valued his 2nd wife because she was always by his side, listening, comforting, and sharing whenever he was troubled. As for his 1st wife, he almost entirely forgot her. She lived quietly, devotedly caring for him, providing every meal and watching over his sleep, but rarely caught his eye. One day, the rich man fell seriously ill. Knowing that death was near, he was extremely afraid. He called his 4th wife and said, "I love you the most. I have given you everything. Your husband is about to die. Will you follow me?" His 4th wife looked at him coldly and replied, "No, when you die, I will marry someone else." He was stunned, his heart shattering into pieces. He quickly called his 3rd wife. "You are the one I always took pride in, always brought by my side. Now I am about to die. Will you follow me?" His 3rd wife turned her face away and whispered, "I'm sorry, sir. When you die, I can only accompany you to the gate of the tomb. Then I will return." Desperate, he called his 2nd wife. "You have always been by my side, listening to my confessions, sharing all joys and sorrows. Now I am about to depart this life. Will you follow me?" His 2nd wife's eyes welled up. "My dear, I can only take you to your grave. Then I, too, must return. I cannot go any further." He was in extreme agony. And then, from a corner of the room, his 1st wife, the one he had forgotten, stepped out, her voice weak, but full of love. "I will go with you, wherever you go." The rich man burst into tears. He realized that his whole life he had been chasing after fleeting things, and had neglected the one who was truly the most loyal and devoted. Did you know? These 4 wives are symbols of the 4 things we possess in life. The 4th wife is the physical body. We care for it, adorn it, but when we die, it abandons us. The 3rd wife is wealth and status. We proudly show them off, but when we die, they belong to others. The 2nd wife is family and friends. They love us, but can only accompany us to the grave. And the 1st wife, the forgotten one, is karma, spirituality, merit. Only that will follow us forever, accompanying us through all lifetimes. Therefore, the Buddha taught that all beings carry karma with them like a shadow. No one can escape karma. And only by cultivating the mind, acting virtuously, doing good, and avoiding evil, can we transform that karmic flow. Another story that has stayed with me forever is about an old man who built a house. He spent his whole life saving and building a very large, beautiful house, hoping to live happily in it until the end of his days. The day the house was completed, he was overjoyed. But just a few days later, he fell seriously ill and died. That large, beautiful house. He only had a moment to grasp it before he passed away with regret. People recounted that before he died, he mumbled, "If only I had spent that time cultivating myself, doing good deeds, living more peacefully." Don't you see? Human life is truly short. So many years of toil and accumulation, only to leave it all behind. No one takes anything with them. Only wholesome karma and a compassionate heart are the sole provisions. Yet, many of us still live as if we will never die. We argue over money, contend for every small gain, even hurt others to get ahead. But then, when impermanence comes, everything dissolves like a dream. Life is a dream. Don't wait until you wake up to regret it. That saying, though seemingly a light reminder, contains a profound truth. Every moment of the present is priceless. If we live with love, with the ability to let go, with the commitment to do good, then every such moment is liberation. I want to tell you another beautiful story. The story of Mr. Phuc, a wealthy factory owner. Mr. Phuc was famous throughout the region for his short temper and arrogance. He often shouted at his workers, looked down on the poor, and considered himself the center of everything. In his factory, there was a poor worker named Loy, who was kind, hardworking, and always humbly endured. One day, Mr. Phuc had an accident. His car overturned on the road, and he was seriously injured. When he regained consciousness in the hospital, no family member was by his side. His wife and children were busy with his assets. Everyone just asked perfunctorily and then left. Surprisingly, the one who meticulously cared for him, wiped his sweat, and fed him every spoonful of porridge, was An Loy, the worker he had once scolded and dismissed. An Loy said, "Just rest, sir. I'll help with whatever I can. You used to be hot-tempered, but I understand it was probably because you were under a lot of pressure." Mr. Phuc burst into tears. For the first time in his life, he felt what genuine compassion was. Not money, not power, but simple, pure, unconditional human kindness. When he was discharged from the hospital, he went to the temple, knelt before the Buddha statue, tears wetting his robe. He said to the abbot, "I once thought that having money meant having everything, but now I understand that money doesn't follow me. Only karma and kindness remain." From then on, Mr. Phuc changed. He treated his workers well, used his money for charity, and helped the poor. His factory not only prospered more, but was also filled with joy and laughter. He said that true wealth is not having a lot of money, but having a peaceful mind and a compassionate heart. You see, life always offers opportunities for us to awaken. It's just that sometimes we refuse to open our hearts to see. Karma is not a judgment. Karma is a lesson. If we know how to learn, how to repent, how to do good, then karma can be transformed. But if we cling to stubbornness, to competition, then that karma will follow us from one lifetime to the next, causing us endless suffering. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught, "Not in the sky, nor in the midst of the sea, nor in the deep mountain caves, is there any place on earth where one can escape the karma one has created." That teaching reminds us that no matter where we go or what we do, the results of our actions, words, and thoughts will always follow us. But don't be afraid because of this. See it as an opportunity for mindfulness When we do good deeds, speak kind words, think good thoughts, we are sowing seeds of blessing. When we know how to repent, we are cleansing old karma. You can start right now, in this very moment. Inhale deeply, feeling the breath entering your body. This breath is life. It is a miracle. As you exhale, let go of all resentment, blame, and worries. Silently say in your heart, I am grateful that I am still alive. I am grateful that I still have the opportunity to do good. If today someone has hurt you, forgive them, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because your mind deserves peace. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, but not allowing the past to continue to bind the present. Try writing down one thing you want to do today to sow wholesome karma. It could be just smiling at someone, saying a kind word, or helping someone in need. Each of these small actions, when accumulated, will become a stream of wholesome energy, spreading and returning to you. Karma is not distant. Rebirth is not an illusion. All are mirrors reflecting our minds. When our mind is pure and gentle, life naturally becomes gentler. My dear friend, live as if today is the last day of your life, not out of fear, but to cherish it. Love as if you have never been hurt. Give as if you have never lost, and practice as if you are seen by the Buddha. Because in reality, the Buddha is not far away. The Buddha is right in the heart of each of us. As you listen to these words, please gently close your eyes, take a deep breath, and feel this phrase resonate in your heart. Money doesn't follow us. Only karma and kindness remain. Life is impermanent. Only wholesome causes and compassion follow us forever. May you feel peace in every breath. May the wholesome deeds you sow today blossom in the future. And may you always remember, wherever you are, life is a dream. Don't wait until you wake up to regret it. My dear friend, after having journeyed together through the long previous parts, where we learned to recognize the evil in our minds, let go. Understand karma. Understand impermanence. We now arrive at a truly beautiful point. This is where we look deep within and realize that true happiness has never left us. It does not lie in wealth, fame, or the things we endlessly seek. It is right in every breath, every ray of sunlight, every smile, every moment we choose to stop and live. The Buddha taught that happiness does not come from external things, but from a contented mind. A simple teaching, yet profoundly deep. Because almost our entire lives, we are constantly searching, and few stop to realize that what we seek has always been in our hands. Isn't it true that sometimes you feel tired? Tired of chasing what others have. Tired of fearing the loss of what you hold. Tired of comparing yourself to others. You see others happy, and you think they are lucky. You see them wealthy, and you imagine that is happiness. But when night falls in a quiet room, sometimes those very people feel an emptiness in their hearts, as if something unnamed is missing inside them. In truth, we are not tired of life, but tired of running from ourselves. The mind is never at peace. We always want more, want things to be different, want to be perfect. From this, we forget the present moment, forget the breath moving in and out of our chest. Every time we complain about something we don't have, we are taking away our own opportunity for peace. The Buddha once said that when our mind knows how to stop, knows how to cherish this moment, then happiness naturally appears like a lotus in the mud, needing no one to bestow it, needing no conditions. Happiness doesn't need to be created, for it is always within us. We just forget how to see it. I remember a very simple story that still moves me every time I tell it. It is the story of Miss Hua and the early morning field. Miss Hua was an ordinary woman living in a small rural area. Every day, she would wake up early, take care of her husband and children, then go to work at a garment factory. In her heart, she always harbored a dream: to have a bigger house, a car, so she wouldn't have to brave the rain and sun on her way to work, and a more abundant life. Every time she saw her neighbors get something new, she would feel a pang and sigh. Her life passed in a steady but weary routine. She thought she would be happy when she had enough money, when her children grew up, when she was out of debt. One morning, after many rainy days, she woke up earlier than usual. For some reason, that day she wasn't rushing like before. She decided to walk to the field near her house. The sky was still misty, the cold air touching her face. On the horizon, the first rays of sunlight were emerging, casting faint golden light on every dewdrop on the blades of grass. Birds sang. The wind blew through the lush green rice fields. The fresh smell of earth after the rain lingered. Everything was strangely calm and peaceful. She stopped and stood still. She took a deep breath, thinking nothing. No worries, no regrets. She just stood there, watching the sun rise, feeling her heartbeat harmonize with the sound of the wind. For the first time in so many years, she felt her heart light as a cloud. A strange joy that came not from anything specific, but just from being fully present in the moment. That day, when she returned home, she saw familiar things suddenly differently. Her children's calls for mom, the clinking of dishes, the smell of hot rice, all became precious. She realized that happiness is not when we achieve something, but when we know how to appreciate what we have. It turned out that all this time she had been running around searching, but happiness had always been waiting right behind her. Ms. Hua's story reminds me of the Buddha's teaching in the Anguttara Nikaya. One who knows contentment is the richest. One who knows when to stop is the most at peace. Because when our heart feels enough, everything is enough. But when our heart feels lack, even with the whole world, it still feels empty. Have you noticed? All suffering begins with the word want. Wanting to be loved more, wanting to have more, wanting others to understand us more. The more we want, the more we feel it's not enough. The more we search, the further away it feels. But when we stop, take a deep breath, we suddenly realize everything is already here. The bird song, the light, the wind, the water, and even our heartbeat. Happiness is inherently not far away. It is in every grateful breath, every moment we return to ourselves. The Buddha once told a parable that a person who keeps chasing their shadow under the sun will never catch it. But when that person stops, the shadow naturally stands still beside them. Similarly, when we stop searching for happiness, happiness naturally appears. I remember once asking an old monk, "Teacher, what is peace and serenity?" The teacher smiled. Peace and serenity are not about having no waves, but knowing how to breathe when the waves come. I've carried that answer with me ever since. In truth, life is never without waves. Some days are peaceful, some days are stormy. But if we know how to look at the waves with a calm eye, how to breathe amidst the storm, then no matter where we are, we can live in happiness. Now try to pause with me for a moment. Sit still, place your hand on your chest, feel your heartbeat. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, slowly. Just like that. Can you hear the gentle sound of your breath? That is the voice of life. You are still breathing, meaning you still have the opportunity to live differently, to be happy, to love, to forgive. In this moment, you don't need to try to be anyone else. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to breathe and smile. Because at the very moment you are aware of your breath, you are already living in happiness. If there is anything that makes you sad, release it with your exhale. If there is anything that makes you happy, hold it with your inhale. Every breath is an opportunity to renew yourself, to make peace with life. Someone said, "When I get what I want, I will be happy." But the truth is, only when you are grateful for what you have will you truly be happy. In the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha taught, "One whose mind is tranquil has no worries, no fears. Such a person lives in joy even amidst suffering." This means happiness is not about avoiding suffering, but about how we face suffering. When we accept that life is impermanent, the heart naturally finds peace. Happiness is not a destination, but a journey of mindfulness. It is present in every step, every small gesture. When you wash dishes and know that you are washing dishes. When you eat rice and know that you are eating rice. When you listen to a piece of music and truly listen, then you are living in meditation. My dear friend, try to slow down a bit. Don't be afraid of missing anything. Because when you stop, you will see the things you missed when you were rushing. Your child's smile, your mother's eyes, the scent of a flower, or the sound of the wind playing through the leaves. All are simple happiness. You just need to be willing to see. In today's practice, you can take a few minutes to sit still. Close your eyes, inhale deeply, and silently say in your mind, "In this moment, I am living in happiness." Repeat 3 times slowly. Let each breath embrace you, like the arms of life. When your mind is at peace, everything around you is also at peace. Don't seek more. Don't wait. Don't compare. Just stop. And you will see that happiness is not far away, but right in your breath, in your smile, in your eyes, in your complete presence with yourself and with this life. And now, as we conclude this journey, I just want to tell you one simple thing. Live like a lotus in the mud, unstained by the mud. Amidst life, keep your heart pure. Happiness is not when suffering ends, but when we know how to smile at suffering. Happiness is not when we have a lot, but when the heart knows contentment. And happiness is not something we seek, but something we recognize when we stop. In this moment, you can try taking a deep breath in, then exhaling, gently smiling, and saying to yourself, "I am happy because I am alive." may you, may I, and may all beings find happiness right in every breath, every moment of this life. For when the mind knows when to stop, happiness naturally blossoms. My dear friend, as we come to the very end of this journey of looking back at a human life, perhaps what lingers most in our hearts is not how much money, how many houses, or how much fame we had. Rather, it's how we lived with ourselves and with others. Sometimes you've been tired of endless efforts, struggling with how to be recognized by others, how to hold on to things that seemed to bring peace. But the tighter you held, the more complicated your life became. The more you sought, the further happiness drifted away. Many people only realize in their twilight years that the most precious things in life are not how much we have, but knowing contentment, knowing how to let go, and knowing how to love. Just that. Yet it's a lifetime of practice. I know that in daily life, there are times when it's truly difficult to know contentment because society constantly urges us to run. You open your eyes and see others more successful, more beautiful, more skilled, which makes your heart restless. We are drawn by desires, bound by invisible expectations. The Buddha once taught that the root of suffering is craving. Craving is not just wanting more, but also not accepting what we already have. The mind that is always searching, always comparing, always feeling it lacks, is the root cause that makes people endlessly weary. When we know how to stop, know how to look deeply within, we will see that nothing is truly lacking. It is only because our mind is not yet at peace. There is a small story I want to tell you about Ong Hai, a gentle farmer in the countryside. He lived his whole life with his fields, year after year, with only a small plot of land, a few chickens, a couple of vegetable beds. People called him poor, but strangely, he always smiled. Every day was the same. Early in the morning, he went to the fields, bent down to his vegetable beds, looked up to greet the sun, and said, "Today, I can still work, still breathe. That's enough." Many villagers asked him, "Ong Hai, don't you find it hard? There's nothing joyful about it." He just smiled. "Who forbids me from being joyful? I eat my own rice. I grow my own vegetables. At night, I hear the insects chirping, and I feel so lighthearted." People suffer because they think happiness must be somewhere else, but I see it right here. That seemingly simple statement contains the entire spirit of Buddhism. The Buddha once taught in the Anguttara Nikaya, "One who knows contentment is at peace even lying on the ground. One who does not know contentment is unsatisfied even in the heavens." When we understand these words, we will see that happiness is not a destination, but a state of mind when we stop searching. Knowing contentment does not mean not striving, but not letting our heart be swayed by craving. Knowing contentment is when you know how to cherish the present, how to be grateful for even the smallest things, how to stop to listen to a bird sing, to gaze at a dewdrop on a leaf, to smile because you can still breathe. When we know contentment, we can truly know how to let go. Because letting go is not abandoning, but lightening the things that weigh down our mind. In life, there are things we want to hold on to: a person, a memory, an unfulfilled wish. But the tighter we hold, the more it hurts. The Buddha taught that all phenomena are impermanent. All things arise and cease according to conditions. If we understand that, we will no longer cling. Just as a clenched hand cannot receive anything more, only when it opens does the palm become light and empty, ready to receive new things. Someone once told me, "I'm afraid to let go because I'm afraid of losing." I just smiled and said, "It's precisely because you don't dare to let go that you continue to live in loss. Because when you don't let go, you lose inner peace, you lose freedom, you lose the present." Letting go is not losing, but returning everything to its rightful place, like a river that doesn't try to hold on to water, so the water flows to the sea. And only when we know how to let go can we truly know how to love. Because true love does not come from a selfish mind, but from a mind that has lightened. When we still harbor hatred, resentment, comparisons, we cannot truly love anyone. The Buddha taught, hatred is never appeased by hatred. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. Love here is not pity, but compassion. The insight that sees the inherent suffering of others, so we don't blame or get angry, but cultivate a heart of loving kindness. When you understand that everyone is suffering in their own way, you will no longer wish to contend, no longer wish to prove anything, no longer wish to judge. You will only wish to live with a gentle heart and warm eyes. Once I met a middle-aged woman at the temple, her eyes red-rimmed. She said, "Teacher, I don't understand why the longer I live, the more tired I feel. I've tried to live well, yet people still speak ill of me, still misunderstand me. I feel so unfairly treated." I asked back, "Living well, for whom to see?" She was silent. I continued, "If you live well to be praised, you will suffer when criticized. If you live virtuously to be acknowledged, you will be sad when forgotten. But if you do good, because your heart is gentle, because your mind wants peace, then no matter what people say, you will remain peaceful." She cried, but they were tears of relief. The next day, she returned to the temple, smiled kindly, and said, "I understand now. Let others do what they do. As long as my heart is not evil, that is liberation." That is also what the Buddha always taught. By oneself is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone. By oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. When we understand this, we stop worrying about others. We stop suffering over gossip and trivial matters. We only have one task left, to keep our mind bright. Now, try to pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel the cool air entering your lungs, then gently exhale, letting go of all fatigue. Try saying to yourself, "In this moment, I am enough. I don't need to be like anyone else. I don't need to prove anything. I just need to live kindly and lovingly." Just repeating this a few times, you will feel your heart settle down. All worries, comparisons, envy, and anger will dissipate. In that moment, you are practicing contentment, letting go, and loving. If possible, every morning when you wake up, take a few minutes to give thanks for 3 things. Thank you for still being able to breathe. Thank you for having loved ones beside you. Thank you for still having the opportunity to do good. Every evening before sleeping, forgive yourself for any imperfections and send a small prayer for anyone you are angry with. These seemingly small acts are ways to practice daily, to gradually lighten your mind, open your heart, and allow happiness to naturally arise. You see, living in this world, the important thing is not being superior to anyone, but understanding oneself and loving others. There's no need to prove anything, no need to argue right or wrong with life. Let others do what they do. As long as our heart is gentle and our mind is bright, we are already at peace, already liberated. Because liberation is not far away, but right in the mind that no longer clings, no longer resents, no longer craves. I hope that after hearing this entire journey, you can look at your life with gentler eyes. You can smile, even if life is not perfect. Because knowing contentment is happiness. Knowing how to let go is freedom. Knowing how to love is the path home. The Buddha taught that a virtuous person is one who lives in light. Let that light illuminate your heart, so that no matter how life changes, your mind remains peaceful. Your heart remains steady. If you can, right now, take a deep breath. Exhale very slowly, feeling the lightness spread. You are living. You are breathing. You are present. That is enough. In every peaceful breath, you will find that you no longer need to go far to seek happiness. Because happiness, peace, and liberation all begin from a mind that knows contentment, knows how to let go, knows how to love. May you, the one listening to these words, always live in the light of compassion and wisdom, so that every day is a day of peace. Every step is a step back to yourself.